how ironic that the Nation of Islam hates the Christian faith because their ancestors were carried on ships when Muhammad referred to a black slave as a ship.
You're talking about my holy book in a bad way, but I will not talk about your book because I believe in the Bible. I believe in the book of Jews, and that's what our Islam told us.
So you believe in the Bible?
Not this Bible. The right
so he's just talked bad of the Bible.
No,
So
we believe in that.
is my Bible trustworthy?
No, it's...
There you go. If that is an eternal law for all mankind in all places and in all times, that means that it is instituted within Sharia law to capture, to free, to buy, to sell, and to treat slaves.
I think you're preaching hate, Bob.
I'm preaching hate for critiquing their prophet.
So, okay, hold on.
This is the mindset of the Dawah team.
All right, what
That
Dawah
you
team?
cannot criticize their
Dawah
prophet,
team?
otherwise you are a hate preacher.
Hold on.
But that never stops the Dawah team from critiquing the Christian faith. Are you ISIS?
Why do you ask my ISIS?
I can answer your question.
They love ISIS. Why do you ask him? They love ISIS.
He doesn't want to answer the question. You don't want to hear that.
I'm not interested in your answer. I'm interested in
I will answer your question in my own way. My way.
Ask me that. I'm a Muslim. That's why you asked me that.
Doesn't
Tell him
matter.
now.
So tell me why ISIS is wrong. ISIS was a plan of last 25 years made by America, Britain, France, and you don't want fucking to my answer.
I'm listening. I heard your answer. Your answer is that ISIS is the creation of America.
Bye-bye.
So the
You
Muslim
give your
community
answer. You didn't
at
like it,
Speaker's
did you?
Corner want to blame the USA for
didn't like
ISIS
it. No,
you should blame yourself.
rather than take responsibility.
Why are we going to take responsibility if ISIS are not of the Muslims?
Why are you blaming America?
Of course we have responsibility about that as well. We do have
take
responsibility.
If Americans go and join
But
ISIS,
most of the responsibility on you as well. On you.
did a lot of American patriots.
You didn't like his answer, did you?
No. I'm
like his
engaging
answer.
with his answer,
you
which is
didn't.
something different from what you're doing.
Because you didn't allow me to
I
finish.
like his answer.
You said the CIA, you said America.
No, I didn't say the CIA. I haven't finished my answer, but you don't like it.
MI6.
It's a nonsensical answer by a community
We're not talking about Quran. We're not
that
talking-
don't want to take
Oh,
responsibility.
your pants on fire.
I told him this is not religious.
Your pants on fire.
Your pants is above.
Is that a logical argument?
Yes, it is.
Talk about Novichok, but he wants to.
Novichok.
I told him.
You didn't like his
It had
answer.
nothing to do with Islamists forming a network together.
It's a politician conversation. It's
I'm
nothing to do
talking
with
politics.
religion.
No, you don't. Talking politics.
Okay, who created ISIS?
My brother, you want to talk to the Islamist network that formed themselves. They broke off, as I understand, from Al Qaeda.
With him? Me with him?
Why am I lost?
Islam and
Because I'm
politics are
not
one.
desperately trying to blame everyone else for situations created from within my own community.
Why do you blame Muslims about
No, I don't blame all Muslims. I blame Islamists. Let's be clear. I don't blame all Muslims. I'm not blaming you. I'm blaming Islamists. But Islamists are a group of Muslims.
Listen to this, brother.
That's what I said.
You're talking off us.
So be clear about what I'm saying.
Can you leave him alone?
My brother. Why are they not Muslims?
Bye-bye.
My brother.
Okay, so let's look at their actions and ask ourselves. Do you want to talk with me about it?
Bye-bye.
My brother, want to talk. My brother, no. We're talking.
Bye-bye. Bob the liar. Bye-bye.
Bob, you can't be taking the cameras away, man. Come on, bro.
Talk over here because we'll get heckled.
I think you need to get a selfie stick too.
I'm telling you why. Because in Islam there are certain rules to follow, which are said in Quran and Sunnah. So if I don't follow these rules, he's not a Muslim. If he kill people, he's not a Muslim. Okay, and that's what I want. In Christianity, a person who doesn't follow Bible, he's not a Muslim. He's not Christian. So that's what I want to explain.
Okay. So let's look at some of the actions. Like, firstly, I agree with you that ISIS don't represent all Muslims.
Muslims.
and don't represent Islam.
This is what we're going to discuss.
Yeah.
But I agree with you definitely that ISIS don't represent all Muslims.
Okay, I want to give you something.
Allow me
I was in Saudi Arabia.
1 second.
Yeah,
Allow
okay.
me to make a point, and then we'll do an exchange.
Yeah, okay.
Yeah, we don't have to talk over it. So I agree with you that ISIS does not represent all Muslims. I'm happy to give virtually every Muslim I meet
Yeah.
the benefit of the doubt that they're not supporters of ISIS, though I have met Muslims who are.
Yeah.
Okay, even in this park. Okay, so my question to you is, point to me 3 actions that you would say are not representative of Islam, that ISIS do, and therefore exclude them from the possibility of being Muslims.
Okay, number
3.
Yeah, they're number 1. They are killing people. Number
Okay.
2, yeah, in Saudi Arabia, from about 1 year, I was there, and they were bombing mosques. Mosques are the holy places for praying.
Yeah.
And, it was proved that ISIS did it. And in Medina, the holy mosque of Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, it was like bombed by them. So it's the second thing that they bombed most. Third thing that they kill like innocent people, and they.
You've just
yeah,
said no.
yeah, okay, and they follow another way, which is.
Sorry, you've essentially saying the same thing 3 different ways.
Yeah.
I'm asking you for 3 different things that they do. They kill people is 1.
Yeah.
They bomb mosques.
Yeah.
Does that mean bombing churches is okay?
No, not okay.
So bombing churches is wrong.
No, yeah, bombing mosques to any place for worshipping God
What about
in any different
what
way
about
is wrong.
forcibly converting churches into mosques? Is that wrong?
Yeah, it's wrong. to
Okay.
convert.
What about, and then you said what else? What else?
Yeah, their mentality, what they are thinking about to conquer the world and to try to fear people, it's not in Quran.
Okay, all of these things are not in the Quran.
Yeah.
Tell me the last time. Tell me the last time you saw an Islamic state, an Islamic society that you would say this is genuinely Islamic.
I know Islam society, I know Islam Muslims people.
Are you Shia or Sunni?
I'm Sunni.
Sunni.
But
Okay.
I want to tell you something. In Quran, there's nothing called Shia or Sunni. There's Quran that you
Okay.
have to follow it, and then you are a Muslim.
That's fine. Okay.
Yeah.
So let's be clear. The caliphate. What was the last caliphate that you would look to and say this was an Islamic caliphate, like the Ottoman Caliphate, the Andalusian Caliphate, the Umayyad Caliphate, the Caliphate set up by Muhammad?
The Ottoman Caliphate, it was, there were.
Was that an Islamic
Not
caliphate?
all of them.
Okay.
There were some caliphs who were doing
So
wrong
one
things.
caliphs,
Yeah.
okay.
And
Okay,
the
right.
after
You said,
Muhammad-
right, so you've just said, and we all heard you, that the Ottoman Caliphate was whilst it had its failings at different times in history with different caliphates, it was an Islamic caliphate. And you said that the things that ISIS did that exclude them from being Muslim is that they killed people, they destroyed they destroyed mosques, and by extension destroyed churches, and forcibly convert churches, and then the third one we never really picked one out, but let's
No,
find.
I mean that their mentality.
What about kidnapping people? ISIS kidnapped people. Right. So now let's look at the Ottoman Caliphate and ask ourselves if the Ottoman Caliphate did what ISIS did, bearing in mind that you said that the Ottoman Caliphate was
all
an
of them.
Islamic caliphate.
Not all of them.
Let's just look at what the Ottoman Caliphate did. The Ottoman Caliphate kidnapped Christians and formed an army called the Janissaries that was basically formed out of kidnapped Christian children. The Ottoman Caliphate forcibly destroyed and converted churches, and the Ottoman Caliphate killed people. And the Ottoman Caliphate did this not at one point in its history, but for the entirety of its history. Every single caliph of that caliphate did it.
So could you give me like the years and
Can I ask you a question on that statement?
so I will write it and
So what you need to look up, you can do it all now. Everyone
Can I
can
ask you a
fact check
question on
me.
that statement?
One second. Let us finish. Everyone can fact check me right this second. Pull out your phones, use your 4G, and go and type in the word Janissary and see what comes up.
how do you spell that?
Janissary. 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 Okay? Janissaries. Family.
Can I just ask you, you know you're making this statement that they done this, right, yeah, in the Ottoman Caliphate or whatever. Did they go and just enforce this on normal civilian people?
Yes.
Just as they went to anyone's house and said, "Oh, do you know what? Because you're not Muslim, we're going to kill you."
No, what they did is so
they done it under war
No,
or under defense.
let
or
me
something,
finish.
Because what you're saying is that we went round.
Something tells me you've not read the history, have you?
I
You
haven't.
didn't even know
I
the word
haven't, but the
Janissary
thing is,
before I told you.
What I'm trying to say to you is that.
So you're trying to lecture me about something
Are
you
gonna
don't
let me
even know
talk?
about.
I'm not going to lecture you. I'm not going to lecture. I'm saying you're coming here to lecture people about old history, right?
Right.
Is it
So
current?
what is your argument?
Is it current right now?
Am I right?
Hold on.
So
why are you going off my
one second.
question?
Am I right?
Yeah, they began as an elite corps of slaves made up of kidnapped young Christian boys who were converted to Islam and became famed for internal cohesion, cemented by strict discipline and order.
Thank you.
Okay, now
That's the Janissaries. That is the Ottoman Empire.
I will tell you. If they did that,
So what? Hold on. So now my
were-
question to you is this:
They were an empire.
and they did this all the
Europe.
way through the period of the
they are
Ottoman
not
Empire.
following the right way of the
Are they not following it? So now, listen. So point to me an example of a caliphate that you do believe in.
Umar ibn al-Khattab, the Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon
Right,
him.
the caliphate of Muhammad.
Muhammad, yeah.
Right. So-
Umar ibn al-Khattab, Uthman ibn Affan, all of these from Prophet Muhammad, peace be upon him, till Uthman ibn Affan.
Okay, so let's look at Muhammad's example. Bearing in mind, Muhammad's caliphate collapsed. It failed. So it means the great system of Islam is a failure.
said about
Yeah?
Janissaries,
It did fail. Where is the caliphate?
He asked you what was the best
The
example.
one set up by Muhammad?
It was changed after
It's a perfect system, right?
Yeah, it was changed after there was problem between
So you're just pursuing that line.
Bani Umayyah and Abbasis.
You're saying
Yeah.
that the Ottomans
So
were a good example.
when what happened look, when Muhammad was dying was that he excluded all Jews and Christians from the Arabian Peninsula. Yes. Do you know about the Christian colony in Najaf?
No, I will tell you. I will tell you why.
Do you know about the
Who
Christian
he
colony in Najaf?
excluded where in Ghazwat al-Ahzab war, the Jews were in Medina with Prophet Muhammad,
And they were all over the Arabian
No,
Peninsula, not just in
I'm
Medina.
talking about the Jews who were in Medina.
No, I'm talking about towards Muhammad's death, he excluded Jews from the entirety of his caliphate, which was the United Arabian Peninsula, and he also excluded Christians in Najaf.
No, the neighbor of Prophet Muhammad was a Jew. Do you know that?
Yes, yes.
Okay.
And that you can point to an example in his life, yeah, right? And you can say,
I'm not saying I will continue.
but
I will tell you.
it's about what
Yeah.
he commanded at the end
No,
of his
maybe
life.
I will tell you.
Can anyone fact check me, please? Fact check me about whether Muhammad commanded that the Jews and the Christians should be excluded from the Arabian Peninsula.
The
Yeah, he
argument
made-
about the Janissaries is that how does it relate to Islam?
Yeah, how does it relate to
Right,
Islam?
thank you. So the point is, before you jumped in, bro,
Yeah, bro.
is that I asked this bro,
Yeah, bro.
yeah, I asked this bro to tell me which caliphate he believed was a genuine Islamic one, because we were discussing ISIS. And we were saying why ISIS aren't really Muslim.
They're not.
Right. And I
They're not.
accept
I'll say
that
it again.
ISIS don't represent most Muslims. I get that. I get that.
Islam.
But then when I
You have
asked
the
you,
Quran.
hold on one
No,
second.
no, yeah.
But then when I asked you to tell me a caliphate that you did think represented Islam, you said the Ottoman
I
Caliphate.
told you
And then I
all of
pointed
them.
out that the Ottoman Caliphate were doing the things
I didn't
that the
tell you.
ISIS Caliphate were doing. So why is one Islamic and not the
Ottoman
other?
Caliphate built churches in Egypt at the end of the Ottoman Caliphate. So not all of the Caliphate, not all of the Caliphs at that time were right. No one, it cannot be.
Shall I tell
That's
you?
why it fall down.
Do you know about the Pact of Umar?
No.
Right.
Yeah.
Shall I tell you?
No, one thing I want to.
Oh, yeah, of course,
Yeah. I'm saying why ISIS are not in Islam, because you cannot prove from the Quran that,
that was the basis
it's
of the
saying
conversation
kill
was,
people.
how
It
is
cannot-
ISIS
the Quran doesn't
anything
say
to do with Islam?
like destroy churches. Quran doesn't say like to terrify people and being terrorists.
What about raping people?
It doesn't say
It doesn't
to rape
say
people.
that. I have my
Okay.
Quran with me.
Okay, right.
Where does
let's
it say
look
to
at
rape
that.
people?
Yeah, we'll look at that. We'll look at that. Okay, in Surah
I really want to
4
know where it says by the word of God, Allah to rape people,
Okay.
because
Yeah.
I haven't seen that
Right,
anywhere.
Say the
Right.
place of
So
the ayah.
the question is, where does the Quran permit rape? Now, before I begin, I want to say that in my experience, most Muslims have a better conscience than they do a deen. Their conscience contradicts their deen, and they follow their conscience, not their deen. Thankfully, okay. But let's just think about what this verse is saying. Okay.
Which verses? And
Yeah,
I'm
so
going
what
to.
is attacking
I'm
to
going
it?
to give
One
it.
second, one second.
Today you're attacking.
I am
It's people
going
like
to
you
give
that
it.
cause problems in the current
I
day.
am
You know
going to
that.
give it. I am going to give it. Okay, so you know that every verse of the Quran was revealed in a situation. Yeah? Every ayah of the Quran was revealed in a situation, in a circumstance. So I'm going to talk about the circumstance first that are in the hadith, and then we're going to go to the verse.
Give me the verse.
Yeah, the verse is Surah 4, verse 24. Okay? The situation in which this ayah was revealed was this one. Are you listening? The Apostle of Allah sent a military expedition to Atwaz on the occasion of the Battle of Hunayn. They met their enemy and fought with them.
In a battle,
They
right?
defeated them and took them captives.
In a battle,
Some
right?
of the companions of the Apostle of Allah were reluctant, are you all listening? Were reluctant to have intercourse with the female captives in the presence of their husbands,
So is what that is it said in
who
the
were
Quran?
unbelievers.
Is that what it says in the Quran?
So Allah the Exalted sent down the Quranic verse, Surah 4:24,
What is the name of the
which
surah?
reads,
What's the name of the
woman,
Yeah.
which reads, also prohibited are women already married, listen, except, did you all hear that word? Already married, except, that means with an exception to the following category. Those whom your right hands possess.
So at the time of them,
As
they were
in,
slaves at that
if
time,
I
right?
own you as a female captive, I can have sex with you regardless of whether you are married or not married.
To the right.
How
Okay,
is
hold
that
on.
not
Hold on.
rape?
Hold on. To the right hand meant to someone who has ownership over a slave. And to be a slave, then in Islam, you have to agree to. Someone is not going to just take you and say you're my slave. They're not.
Or you agree to slavery?
No,
No, I don't agree to slavery. But that was what how it was back in them days.
No, you're saying that I can agree to be your slave.
No, it's not like that.
At them times, yeah, because that's what slavery was.
So his logic is that after a battle, in other words, the Muslims imposed themselves on another community and took captives. He's saying that it was all by consent.
No, I'm saying that's how it was back then.
Utter rubbish.
I'm saying that's how it was back then, though. There was slavery
No, bro.
back then. Is there slavery now?
Oh,
Is
yes,
there
yes,
slavery now?
in Sudan, in Saudi Arabia, in Chad, in Mauritania.
happening now?
Yes,
This is happening
now,
Where's
today.
Your resource? Show us the proof.
Go,
Of today, no,
go
Bob.
and look
You're
up.
on silent now.
Go and look
silent,
up.
Bob.
I'm not silent.
Bob, so where's your proof of today?
Can someone fact check me, please?
No, can you fact check
check
yourself?
me.
Fact check
Fact check me.
yourself.
See if
Fact check
slavery is still
yourself.
happening today.
Fact
Fact check me.
You show me, because I
Come
didn't
on,
bring it
Google
up.
me.
I didn't
Ask
bring
if
it
where
up.
slavery is
No,
still
I
happening
want
today.
you to show me, because I didn't bring it up.
Right.
I didn't bring it up. I want to bring up today's current issue.
Anyone?
People like you.
I think you're making a lot of
No,
noise to
you're-
get around a topic.
No,
I think you're making
I
a lot
think
of
you're
noise to
preaching
get
hate.
around a
I
topic.
think you're preaching hate, Bob.
I'm preaching hate
You're preaching
for
hate.
critiquing their prophet.
So, okay, hold on.
This is the mindset of the Dawah team.
All right, what
That
Dawah
you
team?
cannot criticize their
What Dawah
prophet,
team?
otherwise you are a hate preacher.
Hold on.
But that never stops the Dawah team from critiquing the Christian faith.
Hold on. For
They are
the
Christophobes by their own
for the
logic.
basis of the camera, I'm not here to preach hate like Bob does, yeah?
Why is it hate?
Because you're trying to cause a division in this community. Hold on. Who here is Muslim? Put your hand up. Muslim. Do you agree with people captivating women and raping them without the consent?
Without their consent.
So hold on. For any Muslim in today's current world, Bob, silent, shut up, man, shut up. Today in the current world, no Muslim is gonna agree to that, all right?
He says that, but what did ISIS do?
Bingo.
Who is ISIS?
What did ISIS
Okay,
do?
so this goes back to this. Hold on.
Thank you.
This
They
goes back.
followed Muhammad.
Hold on.
They took female
Are you
captives
gonna just
and
talk
then
over me?
they
No.
raped them.
Let him finish.
Assyrian
Let him
Christians
finish.
were raped by ISIS, and ISIS used this very verse and this very hadith to justify their actions. Now, I agree. He doesn't agree with this kind of behavior. He's a good man. His conscience
He's
is
bum-licking me now.
better than his
Bum-licking me, so I
book.
agree with him, but I'm not gonna
His
agree with you.
conscience
I'm
is
not gonna
better
agree with you, Bob.
than his
You cannot
book.
bum-lick me, Bob.
But his book permits this kind of slavery.
Come on, Bob. Listen, let me think.
Right, hold on. Okay, he says,
What you're preaching is bullshit, bro.
he says,
It doesn't relate to any Muslim here. It doesn't relate to
let's
the
try
Muslim
to
of
advance the
world.
argument. let's try to advance the argument. Because the defence that is being made is that these women consented. Is that what you're going to try and argue?
No.
That these women consented to have sex with their Muslim overlords?
No.
It wasn't rape?
No.
So it was rape?
No, it wasn't rape.
Did they
But-
consent?
Yeah, but because it
Did
was
they consent?
after the war.
Did they consent?
So
Did they give
did
permission
armies-
to have
did-
sex
did
with
armies-
these Muslim
did ar-
overlords?
Did
Yes or
armies
no?
of all countries back in them times get
He's not
consent
answering
from
the
any
question.
women they
Because they
raped?
want to Islam.
Hold on.
Right, I'm asking you a
any
simple
army,
question.
Did any army?
Did they consent?
Did
Yes
any
or
army
no?
consent against any country?
Right, the word consent means that they give permission to have sex.
Hold on.
Who
Did
gets
any
permission?
country?
With female captives.
Did any
Did they
captive
give
woman
consent
in any
to
war
their Muslim
give
masters
permission?
to have sex with them?
No, they didn't give.
So that is rape.
No, brother.
Thank
I
you.
know.
Continue my
That
answer.
is rape.
No, they didn't
Any-
give. They told
any-
them because
Why
they
you
were in war
ignoring me,
afterward.
Bob?
This were
Bob,
taken,
why you ignoring me?
After men. So after taking them as after the war.
After taking them
Yeah.
as slaves,
No, as not as slaves, they were treated as another.
or not slaves.
Yeah.
So they weren't captives.
Hold on. Hold on.
They weren't
Bob.
captives.
Bob.
Okay.
So
Were they captives?
Yeah, of the war.
So they were captives.
Yeah, but it was by their FD. In Islam, if you had.
So they consented.
I don't think anyone who's been captive.
Now listen
in
to
any
the
war
argument.
Has given consent. So you're
Listen to the
argument is
argument.
bollocks,
Because they
Bob.
were, as if they did that, so they are married.
So listen to the argument. The argument is they gave consent.
Who's making
That
the
is the
argument?
defence.
Who's making the argument?
But
or
listen
defense?
carefully. Listen carefully. Were reluctant to have intercourse with their female captives in the presence of their husbands. Which means
They're married.
that Muhammad condoned adultery. He condoned a woman having sex with another man in the presence of their husband.
Hold on.
So they exchange one sin
Adultery-
for another sin.
Adultery is condemned in the
For
Quran.
adultery.
Adultery is condemned in the Quran. Hey, listen.
Can anyone prove that?
Adultery.
They didn't want to rape
Adultery
them.
is condemned
But then
in the
Muhammad
Quran.
said,
No, he didn't say that. It's not in the Quran.
Can you show where they're condoned?
Show me in the Quran where
You
they
want-
say that.
Doesn't
You
it
want-
mean that they didn't want to rape
Right,
them?
so-
why are you saying they did when it
So-
says that they're saying that they
they
were reluctant?
didn't. And then listen to the injunction that comes from Allah.
Why
Why are you
Right?
creating your own
Yeah,
interpretation?
also
Yeah, do you know what I mean?
prohibited
He's
are
giving
women
his-
already
he's giving
married,
his own quotations.
except those whom your right hands possess. Which means Allah is giving permission to these Muslims to have sex with their female captives.
By marriage,
Now-
no, if you read tafsir, there is something called tafsir which explains the Quran.
They are married already, it
This
says
is
in the
not the Quran.
presence
This
of their
this
husbands.
is not the Quran. This
Does Islam permit a woman to have more
That's
than
not
one
in the
husband?
Quran, man.
This is the hadith,
Yeah, but
Abu
they didn't want to
Dawood
rape them.
2150 and Sahih al-Muslim 3433.
So these Muslims didn't want to rape the women. They were reluctant to rape them, so they didn't want to do it.
They
That's
were
what it says.
reluctant.
So they didn't want to.
But then they did.
So that's good for them, isn't it? They're
They
obviously
did.
good people if they
They
didn't want to
did.
rape them.
They
It didn't
did.
say they were willing to rape them. It says they were reluctant. So
Right.
isn't that a positive thing?
Right, do you want you now the brother is saying that this evidence says that they didn't rape them,
they said they
but
were
he's not
reluctant,
listening. They were reluctant, it doesn't mean they didn't.
Brother, listen, I'm just going to say one statement.
Because,
hold on, this is from
in
a
the
hadith,
Quran,
innit?
in Surah,
Let him finish it.
in Surah 4,
I'm going to
24,
read you one statement from a
also
hadith, right?
prohibited are
One
women
small
already
sentence.
married except those whom your right hands possess. In other words, you have permission to have sex with people that are not married.
All right, so you guys-
However,
hold
let
on.
us bring this home. Let us bring this home because we have an even clearer hadith.
Which verse is that? Is that the one that directly follows
That's
the one
Surah
you just read out?
424, which
this
is
is
the
not- this is
context
not
in
in the
which
Quran.
this hadith was revealed.
So that's
This
not-
hadith,
No,
this
hadith
hadith is the
Stuck
gives
to
the
it. I'm saying,
situation.
what is this?
This
This isn't
brother,
written down.
brother.
This is the Quran.
Okay,
This is not from the Quran.
this is a hadith. I've given you the reference. It's Sahih Muslim 3433. Keep up.
Okay, so it's
So-
the Quran.
It has been narrated. This is another
So
hadith.
you're not reading from
So
the
you're
Quran.
taking from
It's
the
a
Quran
hadith
and from
which
hadith.
No, it's not the Quran.
No,
No,
you're
sorry,
not reading
please.
from the Quran.
You don't get Islam, bro.
No, no,
Hadith,
you don't get
hadith
Islam, bro.
are
You
used
have
to
to- you don't get
interpret the
Islam,
Quran.
bro.
So if the
So this is an
hadith say
interpretation of the Quran.
they are used
Yeah,
by
but
Muslims
sometimes
to
he's
He's not
interpret
reading
the
from the
Quran.
Quran just to make
Yeah,
it
he
clear.
doesn't.
Yeah, make it clear.
I think everyone is clear about what I'm reading from because I've been giving my sources.
So is it from the Quran?
So,
Hang on a minute.
let's read
I'll
them
tell you
all.
something from the Quran.
You
Hold
said
on,
you were
hold
gonna
on.
read from
From
the Quran.
the
It's the Quran.
Rape is considered a serious sexual crime in Islam.
Go on.
Yeah? In the
on.
Quran, right?
Yeah.
And can be defined in Islamic law as forcible illegal sex.
This is not a Quran. This is not the Quran.
This is your
You're reading
Anyway,
a commentary.
Anyway,
You're reading an
forcible is
opinion.
about a man with a woman who is not legally married to him without her free consent.
Right. So he's using
It's a
hadith
review
while
from
criticising
the
me
Quran.
for using
It's a
hadith.
review from
What is the contradiction?
You follow the tafsir, yes?
It was
You follow the tafsir. You follow the tafsir reading for
what is your belief on the
Argument is
tafsir?
there.
In the
He's
Quran.
right there, yes.
Read it from the Quran.
I'm going to. I'm going to.
And then you have some.
I'm going
You have some
to.
credit for
I
what
am
you're saying.
going
I'm a Muslim.
to. Okay, Surah 24:33. Surah 24:33.
I don't agree with what he's saying as being a
Are
true.
you listening carefully, bro?
There you go.
Because you've been lied to. You have been
By
lied to.
you, by you mean?
By who?
Right, listen. Surah 24, Ayah 33 reads, "But force not your maids to prostitution when they desire chastity, in order that ye may
Can you
make
repeat that
a gain
sentence?
in the goods of this life. But," are you listening?
Can you start that
But
sentence again?
if anyone compels them, yet after such compulsion is Allah oft forgiving, most merciful.
So what does that mean?
Where are you going on now, bro?
What does that mean? He
So-
doesn't even know what it means.
Force
You don't even
not
know what
your
it
maids
means.
to prostitution when they
Start
desire
again from the start.
chastity,
Say it from the
in
start.
order that ye may make a
commanding
gain
you
in the
not-
goods of this
So
life.
it's commanding you not to force your women into prostitution.
Thank you.
But,
But if anyone compels them
In
yet
war against Islam,
after such compulsion, Allah will be oft forgiving, most merciful. In other words, don't do it, but if you do, Allah will forgive you anyway.
no, it doesn't.
No,
No, it doesn't, Bob. No, it doesn't. That is your own interpretation of it. That is your own interpretation of it, Bob. I don't understand what you're. Can I ask you a question? What is your problem with Islam? What
Okay.
is your problem with Islam?
This is a commentary on this verse.
Surah 7, yeah?
In Dashti, page
What is the name?
50.
What's the name of
Interested
Surah?
in what it says
Oh,
in the
but
Quran.
you are interested in commentary when it legitimates
No, I'm interested
Islam,
in what it says
but
in the
not when
Quran.
it doesn't
No,
legitimate.
I'm not a Muslim.
I've just
I'm
given
not a
you.
Muslim.
I've just
I
given
wanna
you
know
the
what it
ayah
says
in the Quran.
in the Quran. Don't
Let's
talk
see
about
how
Surah.
Muslims interpreted that verse.
Which surah?
That was Surah
is the name?
24 An-Nur, Ayah
An-Nur, yeah,
33.
so wait.
While you're
Let him
finding
read
that,
it now. No, you've read your version.
Okay, yeah,
Let him
yeah,
read
yeah.
his one and tell you what it says.
By the
right?
way, this is not my version. This is a version interpreted
what are the white stickers?
by Muslims.
What about the white stickers?
This is a Muslim
What are the
version
white
of the
stickers?
Quran.
What are the white stickers?
Okay,
What are these white stickers?
I'm going to read it to you.
I'm asking you, what are they?
Al-Dashti, a
What?
humane and salutary injunction.
I'm not asking what it says. I'm asking what is this white sticker
you
you've put
listening?
on there? No, I'm asking you to.
He
answer
doesn't
my
want to
question.
listen. He's asking a question, but he doesn't want to listen.
All right, so what
I am
is-
trying to tell you what the white stickers are, but you're saying you don't want to
You're
listen after
reading
answer the
you're
question.
reading the white sticker.
So, the white stickers are further commentary
By
from
who?
Hadith and Muslim sources.
From where?
From Muslim sources. So, for example, this one is by Ali Dashti, and he on Surah 24, Ayah 33 says this. A
Ali
humane and salutary injunction in Surah 24:33 shows that a cruel and immoral abuse was practiced at that time. Obviously, the verse prohibits the vile practice of slave owners who prostituted their female slaves and pocketed their proceeds, and no less obviously the words God after their coercion is forgiving and merciful, mean that God pardons slave girls for having unwilling committed fornication. The outward form of the words, however, is such that they can be taken to mean that God is forgiving and compassionate to men who prostitute their female slaves. So in other words, Muslims are having to reinterpret the plain meaning of the text to get their profit out of the embarrassment of legitimizing prostitution of female slaves.
Who does
And
that?
that isn't me saying it, that is a Muslim scholar saying it.
34, yeah?
So now we're going to read what you said.
What?
to Adrian.
34? Show me. Which surah?
Surah 24,
An-Nur, yeah?
Ayah
34.
33.
33. Here's it's
Why
what
are
read
you
it
why are
again.
you fueling these terrorists?
One
You're giving them
second.
reasons to do it.
Who am
why
I
are you
fueling?
fueling terrorists?
Why are you?
Why are you're fueling terrorists?
What? So, in your mind,
In my mind, all right.
in your mind,
Yeah.
a legitimate critique of Islam is fueling terrorism.
No, it's not. How is that of Islam?
You have just said to me,
You're
based upon my critique of your
by
religion,
actions of
that
extremist
I am
terrorists
fueling.
who don't
Who's the
represent
extremist
Islam.
terrorist? We're reading the Quran.
Go and look.
This is what the Quran
So
says.
you're telling me
I'm not quoting the magazine of ISIS.
Hey.
I'm quoting your holy book.
No, it's wrong. Ayah 34 here.
This is your holy book, not an ISIS
My holy
magazine.
book, my holy book tells me not to
Surah
rape
An-Nur.
women.
Yeah,
My holy
Surah
book
An-Nur.
tells me
Yeah.
not to capture women, mate.
34
Yeah,
34
yeah.
34 ولقد أنزلنا إليكم آيات مبينات ومثل من الذين ومثل من الذين خلوا من قبلكم وموعظة المتقين.
Yeah.
And here is, could you read that? This is the translation.
I've got the translation right here.
No,
it's
this
the wrong.
one.
This is
Oh, it's the wrong translation.
Yeah,
in
because
other
you
words,
created it.
it's
This
a
is not Quran.
translation that embarrasses my religion,
No.
and so it's wrong.
No, could you
The
read it?
only
Read
legitimate
that.
translation
You don't want to read it. You
are
read it.
those
You
that
don't
make
want
my
to.
religion
No,
look
you-
good,
no,
not look
we have our
bad.
book which is in Arabic.
Let him
And
finish
it's the way that
translation.
came in it.
Why don't
Read
you
this
hear
one.
the translation?
No, I have the
We have sent down
translation.
clear instructions
Go on.
to you,
Yeah,
an
read.
illustration from
Yep.
of those who have gone before you,
Yep.
and warning for those who take heed for themselves. This is the ayah. You are getting another ayah with another thing.
What does that say?
An-Nur 34, here is it. If anyone
For the
can read
cameras.
Arabic, say for
Show the cameras.
Show the camera. Here is it. Surah An-Nur.
Surah Al-Nur,
An-Nur.
and then show you on your phone.
An-Nur 34. Here is it.
He's
34.
accusing me of lying. I'm holding the book in my
Hey,
hand.
It's not this. This is not
This-
our book.
Quran,
And
bro.
here is
This-
it. Surah An-Nur. Show the
Surah
camera. Surah An-Nur.
24,
Surah An-Nur.
Ayah 33.
Ayah.
This is the actual
Now,
Quran.
I
This is a
agree.
translation
I just
by
said that.
someone.
You said 34. You said.
You
He have
don't
just said
listen.
Ayah 33.
Yeah.
You don't
No, and
listen.
before he said Ayah 33.
You know why you don't listen? It's because you
No,
shout
I'm
too much.
listening. No, I'm listening.
You need to relax.
Who smokes too
You
much?
need to relax. So let's return to this brother's
Why are you
comment.
fueling terrorists?
Why am I fueling terrorism?
Yeah, why are you fueling
So,
terrorists?
in this brother's mind, a critique of his
You're
holy
giving them a
book.
reason. No,
Oh,
no,
go on, finish that sentence.
You're giving them a reason
Yeah.
to go and rape women. Whereas we're
Right.
giving you a reason that we can.
Did you all hear that?
Rape.
I read from their holy book,
That's
and
not-
they said,
translation.
Get
This
off
is
my-
not all right. But okay, I want to
Don't touch.
the Holy Quran translated by Abdullah Yusuf.
Abdullah Yusuf, that's
Hold
a
on.
real Christian name.
Bro, so what?
Yeah,
so what?
it's all a giant
So what?
Christian
That's why he doesn't say the Holy Quran. He doesn't say the Holy Quran.
It's all a giant
The Holy Quran-
Christian Jewish conspiracy.
The Holy Quran.
Notice what he
is
said.
here. This is the Holy
I read
Quran.
from their holy book, and they said
No, the
that I'm giving an
translation.
excuse to terrorists to rape women.
I said that it's my holy book. I said it's a translation of the Quran.
Notice,
What does
ladies
your
and
book say? What does
gentlemen,
your book say?
whenever the Muslims
What does your book say?
find a
What does your book say,
translation
brother?
that causes them difficulty
again, and I will
about
mine.
their Quran,
No.
they simply throw the translation under the book.
Finish. Are you finished?
So let us move this argument
No,
forward.
hold on. I want to
Let
say
us
something. I want to say something.
Okay, I'll let you reply to this point and then we'll move
I'm
the
not going to
argument
reply
forward.
to what you're saying. I'm going to make a statement for the benefit of the tape because you seem to come here and make it look like we are all agreeing with rape and capturing Muslims.
No, I don't.
So why is your
No,
point
I
of-
don't.
Okay, so why have
You don't listen, do you?
Hold on.
No, you don't listen. What I said was, Muslims' conscience is
hold on.
better than their book.
Okay, hold
I
on.
said exactly the
Okay,
opposite
so, okay,
of
have
what
finished?
you accused
So
me of.
Are you finished? Have you finished? Have you finished?
Go on.
So whatever you said today about raping and
Yep.
capturing,
Yep.
which Muslim in this park has agreed that it was right?
Abdul Hakim.
Is he in the park? Where is he?
No, he's not here today.
Hello? Any Muslims? Again? And again, for the benefit of the tape,
Hold
all
on.
the Muslims put your hand
Hold
up.
on. 1
All
second.
the Muslims put your hand
1
up.
second.
Do you agree with women being raped?
Do you agree
Shut up,
with
Bob.
capturing
You are here
female?
to hate.
Right, 1 second. They contradict their own book.
None of them.
They don't want to believe in their own book. And I agree with them. It is good that you don't agree with your own book.